and silence?
To steal the South Dakota National Guard's one and only tank won't get very far. There's no transmission inside this Russian-made Iraqi tank captured during the Persian Gulf War. Unlike the San Diego tank hijacker, a thief inside Camp Rapid is likely to be stopped cold in his tracks.
I think everybody has seen the news, has watched this thing, and so everybody's more aware. But we're fairly comfortable that our security is where it should be.
National Guard equipment is stored at 30 South Dakota communities. Vehicles parked outdoors are fenced in under heavy lockup. Even the steering columns are chained and padlocked.
You'd need a big set of bolt cutters to get in to operate any of this.
The equipment is sophisticated enough that unless you know how to operate it, you probably can't get it going.
The spoils of war on display at Camp Rapid might make tempting targets for thieves, but the firing mechanisms have all been welded shut, rendering the big guns useless in the wrong hands. In Rapid City, Perry Groten, KELOLAND News at 10.
A Guard spokesman says there are other security measures, too, for its equipment, ones it obviously doesn't want to advertise. The Guard generally doesn't go public with security at all, but decided to do so in this case to make people feel more at ease.
Guests at a Rapid City Holiday Inn had to leave their rooms when fire broke out. The east wing of La Crosse Street Holiday Inn, that's the one right off of I-90, was evacuated when fire gutted one room and smoked up a dozen others. No one's hurt. The cause is still under investigation. This is all that's left of a gas truck and two 10,000-gallon gasoline tanks in Warner, South Dakota. They went up in a ball of flames this morning.
It rocked my house a little bit, shook the house. It was a big explosion, and it was smoking stuff pretty high. It was a lot of gas that was burning.
Truck driver Daryl Somke suffered burns in the fire, but they're not life-threatening.
It looked kind of shaky for a little while earlier this evening, but our weather has turned out to be a case of more smoke than fire. This evening's clouds are temporary and moving out, right, Lexi?
You're exactly right. This is typical of summer-type thunderstorm activity. And let's take a look at what's left on radar at this hour. Still some showers as you head down into Lincoln and Union County, moving off to the southeast at 15 miles per hour. Also some to the west. The most rain we've received has been in Custer, where it's been just about a half an inch. Otherwise, trace amounts across the region. Precipitation chances tomorrow will be confined to the west, maybe nudging into the central sections, but the east is looking dry with temperatures in the 60s in the east, 50s in the west. So, Steve, that is a cooler day than this afternoon, but the air is dry, so we'll take it.
Okay, thanks, Lexi.
Sure.
In one way or another, a lot of Mother Nature is still being fought around the country. A 5-year-old is among 3 people missing in this rock slide near Wenatchee, Washington. For some reason, a rock wall collapsed, sending boulders as big as 10 feet across, cascading onto traffic below. Rescuers are hopeful that there are survivors. Other parts of the country, like Maryland, are recovering from tornadoes. On the other hand, it's finally stopped raining in St. Louis, but the sandbagging goes on till the water goes down.
Well, our nice weather should give a boost to a couple of cultural events this weekend. In Hendricks, Minnesota, Norwegians are celebrating Sitten de Mai a couple of days late, but in full force. It's tulip time in Orange City, Iowa, but it's more than just flowers, with traditional Dutch songs and many other activities. And this is a good weekend ahead for your nearest state park. Except for camping, admission is free all weekend. You can even fish for nothing.
As the National Rifle Association convention gets underway in Arizona, President Clinton is firing another shot.
Made the money by attacking the police. They admitted they did the wrong thing. They ought to give the money up.
The president is suggesting that donations from a controversial fundraising letter in which the NRA describes federal agents as jackbooted thugs be turned over to a fund for families of slain police officers. Not everyone with the NRA agrees with these latest tactics. A third of NRA members say that the leadership is out of touch.
Here in Sioux Falls, an alleged burglar picked the wrong house this morning. 37-year-old Harold Kilborn is accused of breaking into a home north of Renner. His mistake was threatening the couple who lived there with a rifle he found in their closet.
The homeowner knew it wasn't loaded at that point, and the homeowner basically took things into his own hands at that point and subdued the subject. He did sustain enough injuries that he was taken to the hospital.
Kilborn has a broken nose. He was already awaiting sentencing for burglary and grand theft.
With a school board seat dangling in the balance, teachers at Sioux Falls Lincoln High School are feuding. One teacher, Al Burkhalter, is the head of Citizens Accepting Responsibility for Education, CARE for short. Its goal is to bring education back to the basics, but many teachers disagree with CARE's philosophy. KELOLAND's Madeline Shields reports.
Al Burkhalter is a computer science and math teacher at Lincoln High School. He's been teaching for 27 years. Burkhalter says the Sioux Falls School Board and the Teachers Union spend too much money and are too liberal.
I believe that homosexuality should not be an accepted alternative lifestyle. I think it's a chosen lifestyle. I think that it should not be accepted and tolerated in our schools and taught. The union believes that it should.
As our camera visited Burkhalter's classroom, we found this poster on the wall.
This is information on abortion.
Why is that in a public classroom? Should it be there?
Why shouldn't it? I mean,
it's a computer science class.
Should we censor it? I think we should censor it.
So beyond just describing this particular toy, I want you to...
Teachers like Bev Harvey disagree with Burkhalter and the message he is sending to the public. Harvey says Burkhalter is telling taxpayers that courses are being taught that aren't being taught.
That we have a homosexual curriculum, to condom distribution, to X-rated movies. He implies that these things are, right here in Sioux Falls when they are not.
Harvey and other teachers go to the CARE meetings to get information, not as participants.
So far, all those things that he has been against, I have not seen evidence of in this district.
2 points of view, both claiming to have the students' best interest in mind. Madeline Shields, KELOLAND News at 10.
Sioux Falls officials don't know if Burkhalter's anti-abortion poster is legal. CARE hopes to get the swing vote on the school board. It's endorsing Laura Hubble among the field of 4 candidates in the June 20th election.
Saying it's not even a serious vote, even South Dakota Senator Tom Daschle has voted against President Clinton's budget and went down 99-0 in the Senate, setting the stage for a real fight later on. And a couple of grim reminders tonight. It was a month ago today that the Oklahoma Federal Building was bombed. This tree is being planted in the memory of the 7 Agriculture Department workers who died. While the defense lawyers try to cast doubt on police handling of the O.J. Simpson investigation, this would have been Nicole Simpson's 36th birthday. Her daughter, Arnell, visited with Simpson's friend, A.C. Cowlings. Clinton Housing Secretary Henry Cisneros is settling up with his former mistress. He's paying her $49,000. She's accused him of going back on an agreement to pay her $4,000 a month. And there is a real-life Doogie Howser tonight. Meet 17-year-old Bala Ambadi, who's just graduated from a New York medical school. He's 17 and the youngest doctor in the world.
That record may stand for a while, too.
I think so.
Right-of-way hunting is a hot issue in South Dakota. Let's check in with Lee, who has a court ruling to tell us about.
Yes, Steve, right-of-way or road hunting remains legal in our state. A group of landowners filed a lawsuit saying state easements on section lines were for travel only, not hunting. Well, Circuit Judge Steve Zinter does not agree, and today, after a short trial, he denied the lawsuit. Deputy Attorney General Larry Long says he would be surprised if the decision is not appealed. So road hunting remains legal, no change in the law.
Well, I bet we haven't heard the last of that one, though.
I don't think so.
Okay, thanks, Lee. Here's one I just can't believe.
No, it's hard to believe. A face only a mother could love? Well, mothers may love some faces more than others. A new study finds that mothers treat cute babies nicer than they do homely babies. The study says mothers of cute newborns are more likely to pay more attention to them. I think we need another study.
Yeah, but there's a flaw there. Has there ever been a newborn who wasn't cute?
Yeah, and it's beauty in the eye of the beholder, right?
Mother.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. Again, our top stories tonight. We have one disabled National Guard tank, but a lot of working equipment around South Dakota, but Guard officials say they are secure and nobody will be driving off in them like the incident in California. A dozen rooms have been damaged by a fire at the Holiday Inn along I-90 in Rapid City. Nobody's hurt. A trucker is the only person hurt in this explosion of a truck and 2 gasoline tanks in Warner near Aberdeen. Lexi may have some minor disturbances in our forecast. Our weather is next.
Ben, what's it like to live in a monastery?
When people come here, they find a different world.
Tonight on Eye on KELOLAND, we'll show you how you can visit one.
It's another one of our one-tank trips right here in South Dakota. Continues to startle and amaze.
To say the least. The pool of alternate jurors is down to 2. Judge Lance Ito has done away with 2 more of the starters, a Hispanic woman and a black postal worker. No reason is given, but Simpson's lawyers are taking the unusual step of appealing the dismissal of the postal worker. The judge has another decision to make. Simpson wants to be able to leave the courtroom when the grim pictures of his ex-wife and Ronald Goldman are shown.
He should do so.
And that's a normal human reaction, and it's certainly consistent with someone being innocent.
And one might argue whether this is a performance by Mr. Simpson, the actor, or truly a reflection of Mr. Simpson's alleged grief for his deceased wife.
But as jurors fall by the wayside, a mistrial looks more possible by the day.
For 3 years here on KELOLAND News, we've been telling you how gangs are getting closer to Sioux Falls. What is being done to prevent troubles like cities such as Rapid City, Sioux City, and Omaha have. KELOLAND's Jessica Armstrong brings us up to speed.
Until the shooting of 15-year-old Vern Estenson 2 years ago, Sioux Falls schools and police didn't have much to do with one another until after trouble started. That's changed.
We know one of the places they like to hang out is at the school because that's where they can walk their walk and talk their talk and strut around.
This spring, police regularly patrolled schools looking for teens who don't belong. When they find dropouts or gang members from other cities, they stop them and photograph them in case they cause trouble later.
Well, mostly they're involved in intimidation and fights and that type of stuff, some stealing.
And when they're caught, police make sure prosecutors and judges are aware of their record, not just here, but back home where there's often a long history of crime. Sioux Falls gang members aren't as likely as out-of-towners to carry guns. This was taken from a Kansas City group caught last week, believed to be doing business, selling crack, in Sioux Falls.
They're coming from a very violent environment, and they're more likely to use violence than, say, the homegrown type of criminal.
And parents' involvement is making a difference here in Sioux Falls. Most of the parents called down to the police station to pick up their kids for curfew violations are happy to be notified. And that's the case with gang involvement, too.
Because oftentimes it'll happen to the kids walking around telling everybody he's a gang member, gets involved in trouble, we bring it to the attention. Parents first thing he says, oh, no, I'm not. And then, we'll say, well, here's who he's hanging out with, here's what he's doing, here's what he's saying, you take it from here.
In Sioux Falls, Jessica Armstrong, KELOLAND News at 10.
Police say we can all help eliminate gang problems. Take the keys out of your car. Keep your property in the garage with the door shut. And lock your doors at night. Most importantly, if you see somebody suspicious, call the police.
If you'd like today, you'll love tomorrow. But first we have some spectacular pictures from Texas. What happened, Lexi?
More than a dozen tornadoes touched down in the Texas Panhandle over the weekend. We have some incredible pictures. This was just shot outside the city limits of Lasbuddy. They had a real scare as six tornadoes formed at the same time just outside city limits. You'll hear the person who shot the video counting the tornadoes here. Now, luckily, the twisters stayed in the open country and were only on the ground for a short while. This video was shot by the owner who farms in Lasbuddy, and he said he's never seen anything like it and was breathing a sigh of relief when those twisters went back up into the clouds. Well, luckily, we haven't had that type of weather around here, but we have had some heavy rain, and let's take a look at the latest radar pictures. The rain that we have on the map right now is heaviest in Hand and Beetle County. Heading into Spink County, it's moving to the north at 20 miles per hour. We've had reports in those very same counties of rainfall ranging from 1 to 3 inches. There was a 45-minute period around 6:30 tonight where there was a flash flood warning in effect as well. Now, is this going to continue tomorrow? Yes. So if you like today's muggy and rather wet conditions, it is going to continue tomorrow. Pretty good chance for rainfall, Angela, and I'll have details a little later on.
Well, thank goodness we haven't had any tornadoes like that, but we had some other kind of visitors to KELOLAND television tower tonight.
Our postcard will be quite amazing. You'll want to stay tuned for that.
Okay. Thanks, Lexi.
Sure.
Of course, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Right. And that's how the old saying goes about being uncomfortable in summer heat like today.
And if you spend time outdoors early this afternoon, you are probably uncomfortable. KELOLAND's Vernon Brown is on the night beat, checking how this humidity hits us. Vernon?
Steve, by definition, humidity is the amount of water in the air, but when it's humid, it feels like all that water accumulates on us in the form of sweat.
No one has to tell Jason Larson about humidity. He feels it as he lugs heavy loads through this heavy air.
It's just sticky and your pants stick to you and just not very comfortable.
And for those of you trying to look good, forget it. The trip from home to office can wreck a perfectly good hair day.
Whether it's the outside air, inside air, and that is kind of like tying weights on the hair and it just flattens out.
Make you mad?
Yeah, and ugly.
The discomfort just annoys most of us, but for others, humidity can create a health concern.
People with certain breathing problems, especially, chronic lung disease or asthma, can sometimes feel a worsening problem when the humidity gets too high.
So what can you do about it? Dehumidifiers help pull the moisture out indoors.
The warmer, the more efficient the dehumidifier is. Can take more moisture out.
Of course, air conditioners will help take the moisture out and cool you at the same time, but you might get hot under the collar when you see your electric bill, even though you probably haven't used your air conditioner much in the last few years.
And we haven't had a peak in South Dakota since 1991.
Proof that with heat and humidity, it's all relative.
Also acts as a dehumidifier, but it takes time to dry up our excess moisture. And until it dries up, the sun and humidity will make for some miserable days ahead.
Is the humidity good for anybody, Vernon?
Yes, Dr. Amundsen tells us that if you have dry skin, this kind of weather will clear it right up. Steve, I never have a problem with humidity and bad hair days. How about you?
Well, they're getting better. Thanks, Vernon Brown on the night beat. Angela.
Searchers have picked up signals from the beeper attached to the parachute of that downed American pilot in Bosnia. The signals are not enough to prove the pilot is alive, but they are encouraging. Apache helicopters will begin moving to Italy to prepare for a possible emergency evacuation of UN peacekeepers from Bosnia. While the president says it's unlikely to come to that, the Pentagon is sending 3,500 troops and 100,000 helicopters. 100
helicopters can fight in any environment. We have different missions that we can do in different types of scenarios.
Meantime, NATO aircraft are flying beefed-up patrols over Bosnia to guard against any more surprises. The engineer is dead and dozens are hurt after two New York subway trains collided on a bridge over the East River. The Manhattan-bound subway plowed into another train stopped on the tracks. Dozens of passengers thrown during the crash have head and neck injuries.
Sioux Falls missing murder witness is back in jail tonight. Convicted drug dealer Earl Bland made the mistake of going to Morrell to pick up his paycheck. That's after he skipped out on work release last Friday. He's a witness to the shooting at the Last Frontier bar. Government help for your new house is getting cheaper. The mortgage limit in Minnehaha and Lincoln counties is being raised to $109,000. Real estate is in a lot better shape than it could have been in Florida. There's still lots of wind and lots of rain, but Hurricane Allison has hit land as a tropical storm. If you're Norwegian, your homeland is still fighting high water. The worst floods in 125 years are flooding farms and turning towns into islands. The water is going down behind Yankton's Gavins Point Dam. It's down 4 feet from last week.
There's a poll for everything, and amateur baseball is no exception.